to access the document or the recording for references. So I will proceed and start the recording in a bit. Okay, all right, so recording has started. So, hello, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the 6th edition of my HR Storybook Live Series. I mean, it's a fun and learning platform where we use the concepts of storytelling and speed mentoring to learn, share together. I mean, stories are our primary tools for learning. And when we invite guests to come on our platform to talk, the whole essence is for them to share their stories from their repository so we can all learn. Research has also shown that stories create, a community of connection, because when people share their stories, people can relate with them, and then we take learnings from there. And storytelling enables every one of us to be able to sort of stay connected. Storytelling is powerful and a beautiful act that helps to create connection, evokes emotion, and of course, spur action. The whole essence of my HR storybook is to have a virtual learning platform filled with collection of many beautiful stories that also shows people's challenges, their experiences, and key learnings, for every one of us to take. I always say that our stories are a personal gift to the world. And today we have the honor of having with us someone whom I'm going to read out his profile very shortly to come and gift us with his story. He's someone who has also put his story in a couple of books. He's a mentor to a lot of people. He's an expert in the HR industry. But before I read out his full profile shortly, I would like to just play a very short intro video for us to listen to. Please relax and join me to listen to my HR storybook intro. Identity and your brand. So if Bolaji had given you that target to be the top 5 person in the industry. Thank you so much, everyone. So joining us today, we have Aruosa Osemwegie. Now, he is someone that I admire so much. Aruosa is an HR and organizational development practitioner. He's also a soft skill facilitator, a customer experience coach, a workplace readiness coach. I think in addition to workplace readiness coach, we also need to include the fact that the future of work readiness coach, given the impact of COVID-19, we hear his perspective on that later on. He's a life and career coach as well. He's a service excellence activist, business innovation coach, writer, author, and a youth instigator with many years experience. Arosa has been consulting, writing, speaking, facilitating in the last 18 years. He is arguably the most published HR practitioner in Nigeria. He was once a regular columnist about 6 years ago on organizational development, human resources, people management, youth and career coaching in Guardian newspaper. He is the author of several books. I mean, he's written about 4 books. Getting a Job is a Job. I love that book. I read it a couple of years back until today. The principles that he taught in those books, in that book, is still relevant. He's also authored another book called Nothing Succeeds Like Excess. The third book that he's written is the Unemployment Manifesto, a thought-provoking manifesto on Nigeria's unemployment challenge. And today we'd also hear from him on that, given the impact of COVID-19 to unemployment in Nigeria. Then the fourth book he's written is You, Spike Up Your Career, Manage It as a Brand. Of course, given the advent of technology, there is no other better time than for us to become more intentional with building our career brand identity. He's one of the first to earn the three certifications, PHR, GPHR, and SPHR by 2008. Oh, wow. He's an alumnus of the Harvard Business School and the Lagos Business School Executive Development Program in Human Capital Management. I mean, Aruosa's profile is really rich, and I'm really happy and excited to have him today to come and also share with us live in terms of his career experience, what he's been through. So he's a life and career coach, and he's particularly passionate for getting people to extend themselves beyond themselves. Wow, I find that profound. And everyone, please join me this afternoon as we welcome Aruosa on board to come and share his story with us. Aruosa, nice to have you. Thank you so much. I call him Prof of the Prof, and I can see from his profile that clearly confirms that. So as we invite you on board, I like to ask you this: given the current realities of our world with the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, what has been that impact to your career personally? It'd be nice for us to get your perspective on how it has impacted you. And maybe before then, just give us a summary of your career journey to where you are today and the impact of COVID-19 that you equally experience. So over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lara, for inviting me, and thanks for everyone that has joined. We are certain that each of us will find something valuable, even if it's just a thought to add to validate some of your own thoughts as well. I will try to keep what Lara has told me to do to, kind of give a summary of my journey. It's a slightly tough one in limited time, but I'll try. I think my career journey started while I was doing my extra years in IFE. In those extra, by the way, I studied food science and technology. So sometime around my extra years, well, yeah, I kind of clarified. I stumbled on books like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, very awesome book. And I think about that time, I kind of decided that, well, I didn't know it was human resources then. I felt I wanted to be involved in some of the kind of things he described, whether it was organizational development, at that time I called it, or facilitation, because I saw him facilitating a lot of clarity sessions for individuals, for organizations as well. So you may say that's where my journey began. I was clear it was either that or maybe I would spend some time marketing in the food industry. And interesting, so that journey into 7 Habits of Highly Effective People actually led me to go look for the company in Lagos that was working with them at that time, Ristral Consulting. Ristral did not have enough foresight to hire me at that time. I apologize on that behalf, but it became clearer as I went on that this was what I wanted to do, and I kind of focused. I kept reading a lot more books. My story has a lot to do with reading. So I'm one of those who I'm so unhappy that I have not had time to read as much as I would like. But every year I have bought books. So I made a decision many years ago that even if I don't have the time, it will not stop me from buying the books that I feel I need to have. So I bought books every year, even though there are books I haven't read since I bought them 5 years or 6 years ago. Some I just picked and browsed. From then on, I got a chance to work in a HR consulting firm. And that was huge for me because it was a few years, it was a deep dive. I think I feel I gained about 4 years experience in about 2 years plus in that place, or even more, because there are things that I found useful since then that I've used. So my career has been a combination, and I give glory to God, a combination of being a practitioner as a consultant. So I've had those opportunities, and of course, entrepreneurship. So from consulting, I got a chance to, I started to I was to consult for a company. They instead impressed upon me to work with them full time. So I headed the HR company in Apapa at that time. We were about 200 plus. Combining the subsidiary company and the head office at that time. From there, I got a chance to join Guarantee Trust Bank. I spent about 6 years there, about 6 years there. From then on, HR consulting company of my own, and then from there on to Pricewaterhouse, which I've been since. So that's it. In between, I've had the very rich career, just supporting people with their career. So when I started to introduce myself as a career coach, it wasn't because I needed a title, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm not faulting that, but I just needed a way to explain what I was doing in supporting people with their careers at that time, one person to another. And that's what I did. I've had the privilege of being to many campuses, some several times. That was before getting the job, and also after. Been to many. I mean, many. I still remember the first time I got an invitation, and I went about now. Invitation to come speak to some youth corps members in Jigawa. When I saw the email, I was wondering, Jigawa. I said to myself, I'm obviously not going to this place. I mean, Jigawa. Where? Long story short, I went there. I found myself there, and another group invited me. I think the next year. I think again. So I've been to Jigawa twice. Even though I said I wasn't going to go. So I've had the privilege to share those conversations in several campuses, like I said, several other times, and then writing books and been to several small groups, some faith-based organizations, but just trying to help people to move their career forward. So that has been what you may call an informal career underpinning all of this work. Yeah, that's. I hope that serves as a good, a short summary, a very, very short summary. But in terms of your question about COVID, so I think I have been very fortunate looking at COVID, because first, the kind of organization I found myself working in at the time COVID struck, I would confess that I think in many ways we were better prepared than some. We already had, for example, flexi working. We also already had, I was as a consultant as well. You could go from project site to one project site to the other, which simply means from one client side to the other. So it already supported some kind of independent working, or some a kind of work environment that didn't require you to be in the office every day. Because some days, in my own case, as a senior member of staff, some days you're on your way to Abuja, some days you're on your way to Bayelsa or Port Harcourt. Some weeks will pass, you won't, even if you're in the office, maybe some of your colleagues are not in the office for months and so on. So I think it's good to put out that there that was so helpful. And then in addition to that, also the firm already was championing a lot of stuff about digitization and the need to build digital capabilities. That was also helpful. Of course, there were a few different realities when the thing really hit. I mean, I will confess that maybe somewhere at the back of my mind, I thought, well, since we'll be working from home, it can't be that bad. I mean, it can't be as tedious as going to the office. It's a lie. That wasn't my experience at all.
I can relate.
It was my guy. I just thought, okay, all right. I mean, we're working from home, but suddenly the divide between work and home got merged, and the winner is work, of course. The winner is work, it's not home. The other, before then, at least you were trying to juggle. Having some successes here and there, but you're trying to juggle. Now there's no juggling. There's no juggling. You can be pulled into meetings. The other day I called a friend of mine. It was just about 7. I always said, I'm in a meeting. And it flashed my mind, why did you wait till 8 or 8:30 or something? So they know you can't be in traffic. So you couldn't have been in traffic. They know you, particularly during the lockdown, you couldn't have traveled. So I think that has been I'll be shocked if any of us has grown to master it. I think it's now a reality that we are growing coping mechanisms for. But that's one of the impact. I think another impact would be what I call the attack on prevailing logic. You know, I feel I'm rather fortunate again because I've had some thoughts about the way we do our work in HR. I've had some thoughts about how we manage people in Nigeria as well that has stirred me to say some things and to raise some ideas in the past. For example, years ago, I bought a book. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, Why Work Sucks. This book is over 10 years old, actually. It's over 10 years old. I'm trying to remember the authors, two ladies like that. To show you how the ideas caught on me, I actually went on the internet and searched for them. I think I sent them 1 or 2 emails. I guess they were too busy. They didn't respond because I was really struck about how they have gone on. So they were simply propounding the idea that it was possible to have work that was not focused on 9 to 5 and the meetings and the need for face-to-face interactions. All right. And whereas I was working in Nigeria, and I'm sure many of us are familiar, and some of us as managers today are partially still like that, and maybe some of our colleagues are like that, you know, where we feel that we must see people, you know, for us to be able to determine their productivity or their impact. That there's just something about face-to-face. So I think my attraction, and by the way, when they wrote a book about 3 years after, I bought it again. I think that one is called Why Managing Sucks. So it just shows that, you know, for some people, like I say, and I'm sure there are some who are logged on who have had those thoughts, questioning the traditional models that include not only should you be in the office from 8 to 5 or 6, but you should stay till your boss has left, and that is a behavior that is required for you to move up on the ladder, or that immediately someone is not sitting across your table or in the next office, you are not able to determine their effectiveness. So you will say that because I have been having some of those thoughts when COVID hit, it wasn't again, apart from the health impact it has had, lives have been lost around the world, and economic impact and all that. Focusing on the workplace, it was just to say that, it was simply to say, you know what, you see, some of us, and some, at least we've been reading of people who have kind of been forewarning, let's call it that there was a way to drive productivity that wasn't so heavy duty on face-to-face interactions, and COVID has accelerated. So you may say that that's been my own what I call the attack on prevailing logic. Just to say, so I have a senior colleague who said, one of our partners who said that even though she realized that even though she could work from home, but she kind of just finds herself driving to the office every other day. So she couldn't, you know. So again, it's about prevailing logic. There's just something about our climb, and I'm sure some other climbs around the world, that just drags you to the office, that just drags you, or that just says to your mind that, uncle, are you really productive? This way you're just at home. Really? You know, just even, you know, talking to yourself. And so we all end up, but COVID just shut all of us down. So there was no need to justify to yourself or to colleagues or to employers. I think that would be the biggest lesson. Of course, also the acceleration of open-mindedness to skills that are beyond what you may call, and digital capability is just one of them. You know, maybe we'll have an opportunity to talk about some more. But just the fact that we now needed to expand our skill breadth beyond just the traditional workplace as required, or beyond the ones our skills, our training for university or school has taught us, appreciating that, well, there are other things you need to know. I mean, I'll pause with a simple example. A client of ours was saying, this, I think, is this about a year plus now? We were talking about robotics and talking about RPAs, and very decent executive director, but she was asking us, so where is the robot? Because, you know, for certain people, and I think I was one of them a while back. When you hear robots, what comes to your mind if you're a certain age is those life-size bots, that life-size one that we see in movies. So she kept asking us, hey, where's the bot? I think we found a way, not in that meeting, I assure you, we found a way to explain that it's just software that enables repetitive, definite steps. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aruosa, for that. I mean, when we were talking about robots, I remember in those days, all those robot movies that we used to watch, that, the way robots move. Thank you. Wow, that was really detailed. We don't have any question yet from the audience, but a couple of questions had what were earlier sent to me, which I would also ask. Now, you talked really around the need for us to reskill, and going by the World Economic Forum 2020 report that was shared on the future of work, there was a claim that there's a need for us to reskill up to 50% of our current skills to stay relevant by the year 2025. Now, for us as HR professionals, what's the implication for us? What are the kind of skills that as HR professionals we need to begin to look at building to ensure we stay relevant to ourselves and our organization and our community at large? It'd be nice to get your insights on that.
Okay, thanks. I think this thing about what we need to stay relevant or to respond or to maximize our world, you can layer it into knowledge requirements, you can layer into skill requirements, but we mustn't forget behavior and mindsets, because they have a way of underpinning whether you pursue a knowledge or pursue a skill. So I think maybe what COVID has done, it's unfortunate that it's such a disaster that somewhat also bears quite a lot of learnings or advantages if we were bold enough to say so. Yeah, rather unfortunately, because it kind of ramps up. So what COVID probably has done for us is that it makes some debates unnecessary, so that we can move to the next level. I mean, a quick example: I have a senior auntie of mine. She was recently an MD, and we're just having a conversation. And she was saying that even as MD, she schooled and worked overseas in Nigeria. Now she had challenges. We're trying to share some ideas with our management team, and even sometimes with the board around things about maybe remote working, things about ideas around near home type of workplaces and all. Just because you see, for us to do something, we must even accept that this is something that needs to be done. And that is usually the barrier. The second barrier still related to that is that a lot of the people that have a proven authority are of the somewhat older generation. I thank God that I'm still one of and I don't want anybody to disagree with that. They are the older generation who needs to approve, and sometimes some of them, some not all, struggle with the need to create approvals for some of those things. The other challenge is that sometimes, because they are the most successful ones in the hierarchy, some of us HR people are drawn by how they define what needs to be done, and then honestly, HR is rarely approving authority. We are recommending authority in most cases. So there are things you can recommend. So let's quickly start with HR people. So first of all is to let's even ensure, and I've had this view or argument for years, let's even ensure that we are the people who are, if you ask anybody in your organization today as HR person, let them be able to say, particularly non-HR people, when they ask about you or myself, let it be that we can even be enlisted in the innovative club or innovative people who have a mindset attuned. A number of times it is not so, unfortunately, particularly with enabling or support functions, i.e., HR, finance. It's not so, or risk management. It's not so. We are sometimes the people. I mean, if you look at the whole idea about agile organization, agile teams, sometimes the agility that is required when it comes to HR, we are probably the ones who will say, well, the policy says, for example, or well, as against us being the ones to say, okay, oh, really, is that what's going on? Is that what I hear? Is that what is the data portends? Okay, let's look at the data, let's look at the feedback, and then let's see what adjustments we can take. Sometimes is incremental. So I think for specifically focus on HR people, okay, is being in that innovation camp, because however we like it or not, that train has left the station. It left a while ago. We didn't get the memo, but COVID sent the memo now to everybody's house, everybody's address, unfortunately. That therefore requires that HR people are not just on that train, but they're in the driving seat, at least in the driving team of those who are tuned to the needs to make a lot of adjustments, some of it incremental, but some of it very disruptive. Yeah. After we've solved that, and we will keep solving that because there are several layers and different types required. I will just mention one or two so I can leave that idea quickly.
Okay.
Just ideas around the type of age of people we hire, the qualifications to ask for, or if we even ask for qualifications or not. Okay, those are ideas that even within HR, I'll give an example. Some years ago, I was facilitating a group, and we're talking about paternity leave. It's interesting that even, okay, and I don't want to come into a gender question, but I would think that all genders will buy into it, because what it does, it increases the number of people, or it should increase the number of people that are catering at home for baby and related, all right? So I would think every gender will buy it. I would think every employee will buy it. But I found that we were even still debating the merits of it. So interestingly, and these were HR people. So if we are still debating it, which means if Oga MD or ED comes and say, I went for one training in the US and they were talking about paternity leave, Madam HR or HR officer, what do you think? He may find, because he's still wrapping his mind around it. Mm-hmm. If you just tell him that, okay, it won't work here, okay, all those things that tell you in the abroad, mm-hmm. Do you know that idea is dead?
Yeah.
So immediately we solve that, it's dead completely. Immediately we have solved that, then we can begin to solve things like, how do we begin to support our teams and focus on us at the workplace level now? How do we be able to support our teams to grow the right skills and to grow what is required? I'll give another example. I was in the gym the other day, and somebody came just looking at one of the things I require about wellness, because there's a lot more, unlike before, there's a lot more required about wellness and supporting your teams with wellness than before. Because people are not coming to the workplace, so we need to support a lot more. But there was a guy that was saying that that he's above all that thing about keep fit and all, because he's 50. And I was thinking, this is a young man now, he's 50. Some of us, even at 80, we will not be different from what he's referring to at that time, because there's a lot required about front loading our health schemes now with wellness, to avoid people falling ill, or to even support people to have the emotional balance that our coming together used to provide. Because we're not coming together, we're just seeing ourselves on the screen, we're just calling ourselves. That human touch that is reduced, there's a lot now we need to do. But guess what? If we don't have, because we have sorted out, hopefully, the mindset, the behaviors, then we can begin to look at the skills and broadening the skills required, so that we can have conversations with all forms of leaders, for example, about the digital capabilities. Even they need to grow. or the digital capabilities, even we need to grow as HR. Whereas some capabilities were seen as, oh, we will just get somebody to do this. It's no longer so. Are you going to outsource everything? Because one day it's going to become obvious to everybody that this auntie is just outsourcing everything to everybody. Maybe we don't need her.
We need to outsource her too.
Maybe just outsource her. Since, it's just outsourcing everything. So those are things we need to look at if we are going to be able to push at an organizational level. There are a lot of ideas at community level, at national, subnational levels. I would, however, quickly put it out there that when the World Economic Forum says some of those things, we need to keep them as lighthouses, keeping our left eye on them. But we need to ground ourselves in the reality that maybe our own world has not gotten to where their world is, and I'm talking about statistically in terms of our numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some things we need to solve. So some of the conversations they are having is at this level, whereas we are here. And I'll just give one example and I'll leave this point. I have wondered for a long time, this misnomer before COVID. Our school system are, and I use school system to include the administrators, the lecturers that are probably doing their best or doing some of their best. I actually honestly don't think they're doing their best. It's just because we are on air now. It's heavily analog. But the challenges of today's world are heavily data-driven, heavily digital for sake of simplicity. And I wonder, how do we churn out people from this system to help us solve critical challenges today? It beats me. So my question, who's lecturing the lecturers? Who is lecturing the lecturers? Interestingly, some of the best people to lecture the lecturers, no lecturer will listen to them. For example, there's a 10-year-old out there, there's a 12-year-old out there that can actually mentor and teach and school the lecturers on what is going on today, and they can take that as an input into their work, and then they are better able to support us. Or else, I don't know where we're going. So when they're always on strike anyway, they're always on strike. They're always on strike. So I don't know, and those are the people. So I mean, let me just pause there. Those are the people supposed to churn out the talent we are getting. So you see that as HR professionals, leaders, and all.
Yeah.
We have we're having several challenges. The people that are being churned out to us, and line managers have this challenge, that are being churned out to us, okay, have two major impediments. We can't blame them for it. One, did the home that they grew up in, did this support provide them the emotional and spiritual, and I don't mean religious, I just mean internal resources for them to be resilient, for example. Resilient people, for them to persevering people. Okay, one. Or did the workplace did the school system prepare them to not only be learners, but self-learners? Because that is a critical requirement today. The ability to self-learn. A lot is available on the internet for those who want to self-learn. But question, have you built an educational system that sponsors self-learning and critical thinking? No, we haven't.
The infrastructure that will enable that. And just to also add to that, so while I was also researching recently, I realized that from the year 2015 to date, the top skill from the World Economic Forum had been critical thinking and problem solving. For the past 5 years, that's been the number one skill over the years. And I'm asking myself, so if this is what the world demands of our young ones, then how are we helping them How are we creating that opportunity, that capacity for them to begin to think critically and solve problems? I'm not, like you mentioned, our educational infrastructure does not support that. And yet that is the demand of the future. So where would all of this demand, how will it come out from there? So for me, I see it as a call to action, you know, for individuals, for organization, and for our nation as a whole. It's a huge call on us. So a couple of comments had come in. So Wale's comment with regards to the last feedback.
There is a comment before Wale's own though.
Yes.
You want to?
Okay, the comment
go
before
on, go on.
The comment before Wale is a different question, but because Wale is
okay,
just
please.
in addition to what you mentioned, that's what I want to read out.
Yes, I get your point. Oh, yeah. Awesome.
So what Wale says, great submission, bro. My view is that as much as some of the approving authorities have challenges connecting, you know, COVID-19 disruptions creates a big opportunity to influence them. From conversations, from conversation of CEOs, one is privileged to listen to. They are all concerned about their business survival and are more receptive to sustainability and productivity ideas that will keep their business afloat. So for me, I also think this is another call to action for HR. How is HR readily, how are we positioning ourselves?
Seizing on this.
Yes, to be able to give the right recommendation to the CEOs. You know, so it's a call to action for even we as HR people as well. Thanks for that, Wale. I suppose HR's big role is to communicate those solutions in such a way that would attract little resistance. Thank you. So we have another question from Emmanuel that came earlier. With the realization of new work ways with COVID, what do you think of the possibility of working for more than one organization at the same time with different time schedules and organizations can save costs? I hope that question is clear.
Please take it again.
Okay, with the realization of new work ways with COVID, what do you think of the possibility of working for more than one organization at the same time with different time schedules and organization to save costs? What is your view on that?
Okay. I think it's upon us whether we like it or not. I think, you know, it's upon us. So the question now is, again, you have to decide and ground, where are you thinking this from? Are you thinking as an organizational leader, whether you are HR, a lab manager, or a CEO, or are you thinking as an employee in terms of how to take advantage of that? But let's admit that it's upon us. From the angle of HR, I think for years ago, some of us already started to have conversations around, and then some theorists and people are sat down to do the research work had already pointed out the need to expand our employee group from employee to worker. And it's funny that worker now includes, so worker at a point used to be even temporary worker, independent consultants and co. But it has not included the robots and bots that you're on your team. So the other day, someone was sharing how she went for a conference overseas. I think this was last year or a year and a half ago, and that somebody was we were just having a live conversation, and someone was telling her, "Oh, this is my own staff size." And in mentioning staff size, I actually counted the robots, not the RPA, the robots that they have on staff. You know, so that gives you an idea of the kind of orientation we need. That means as HR, the whole idea that no, the person must be my employee. We should on the vanguard of, because all experience the whole thing about Uber, where they're all partners. The software company, the owner of the car, the driver, are all partners with mutually assured goals. Okay, so we should already begin to look at it that way. And sometimes maybe instead of saying it's not a zero-sum game where you're either my employee or not, we can already begin to prepare ourselves for policies and recruitment, employment terms that make it possible to get just a portion of that person's skill. remember, you have a goal. As far as we continue to invest in training our line managers to break down what needs to be done into measurable little pieces. So I can say that Mr. A or Mrs. B will be providing us these elements, and we ask her, oh, and she say, yes, I can provide it. I just need, for sake of example, I can do it over the next 6 months. And that time scale favors you, you say yes. And in those 6 months, this is how I'm going to provide. So we just focus on that. And so that person is your worker, not your employee, for that project or for that factory or whatever that is for that time. Okay. So it's upon us, HR people should, before the organization is even asking, we should begin to already prepare for those kind of possibilities to say, okay, so one of the best things, and this has always been my goal. Do I always achieve it? Probably not. It's always my goal that I want to ensure I'm the HR person that if my MD is having some ideas, I want to have thought about, so that if we meet, just like Wale said, that this COVID has made them a bit more humble and receptive. So if they ask a question, I want to say, oh God, thanks for asking. By the way, we have done this X and Y research. I hope you can still hear me, please.
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Okay. We've done X and Y research. In fact, these are our thoughts, blah, 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 within the team. Be able to present. I remember some years ago, many years ago, my MD called me and he was saying he wanted to share some stuff about performance management based on the balance scorecard. And I was wondering, how do you even know about the balance scorecard? But the good news was I was ahead of him regarding the use of the balance scorecard. So immediately he came with it that I'm just thinking about, what do you think? I just did a home run. So it's just for us HR people to begin to create new templates and ideas, even before anybody asks us, that make these things possible, because it is upon us. There are going to be a lot of younger talent, whether it's because they are digital based type of talent, that we might not be able to hire, at least not for as long as we want, but we'll be able to get access to that specialist skills. As far as we too have sat back to define what we want, which is sometimes the challenge, because our minds understand easily is, let her just be in front of me. We will tell her what we want to do now. Then when we have more ideas, we tell her. It just requires us to be more clear about the goals and the pieces, the moving pieces we require. So just to answer, but from answering from the angle of an employee person, that you can even, so for some of us who are not thinking about now, it's something to think about, to say, how do I ensure I have the breadth of skills and the depth that will make me able to provide my service? Because you may want to, for different reasons. Maybe because you're also passionate. I'm just giving an example. You are passionate about family, and for you, it's one of the goals. So you want to be able to do this and do that and do that. It could also be because you actually have up to 2 or 3 areas that you are skilled and passionate in. And so you want to be able to provide services in this area and that area and that area. What COVID is saying to us, or rather, unfortunately, or on the fortunate end, is that it is doable, but we too can then begin to empower ourselves so that when we can take maximize those opportunities, it may not be today, 2020, but it could be 2021 or the year after, because we are prepared for it. And that's from the angle of an employee person, different from a HR or a business leader who is creating templates that make those, and policies that make those things happen. So that instead of saying, and I just give that example, instead of saying, oh, if you want to resign, you can go, you can also have a conversation. Okay, what are you going to do? Are you open to so and so? You find, and interestingly, I'm happy that a number of people, I've heard a number of testimonials of people who have gone to Canada. They went to Canada, it's not because they have a challenge with your organization. They've gone to Canada, and the organizations have kept those talents still to say, okay, you will be going to Canada. Are you interested in this kind of arrangement? And they've made such arrangement. I suspect that will increase in the future.
Yeah. I can also attest to that a couple of mentees that I know
Ah,
who have relocated to Canada, and they
okay.
are also still supporting their current organization in Nigeria here. So that's just to confirm that. Thanks so much. Okay, so
Yeah.
we have a
Thanks. Yeah.
question here. Wow, we have just about 10 minutes left. Okay, so
Wow. Already.
already, so interesting conversation. We have a question from Dare here. It reads, is there a need for reorientation of senior executives to identify productivity that may or may not be location restricted? A rethinking from the factory industrial ideology of work, industrial age ideology of work.
Dari, the answer is a resounding yes.
Hmm.
And it has been a yes for at least 10 years. I have said, and for some people who have come for some of my sessions in the past, particularly HR sessions, I've said that cultivating line managers is a major KPI for HR leaders. Cultivating line managers, your line managers, you cannot just leave them to chance. You must have a clear plan to, and by the way, this is a code. When I say cultivating, I actually mean we have to groom them into what we want. It's like controlling in quote. That's what I mean by cultivate. So you have to understand the requirements of what it means to cultivate. You will do different things that creates this reorientation, even some of it ahead. I'll give an example. One of the ways advertisers help us is they give you suggestions. They give you light suggestions. Okay. So as you continue to get suggestions, what happens? What happens is that you are actually being how do I call it? You're actually being reoriented towards something. So the need for reorientation has existed long ago, but maybe we didn't catch it. But the need is a lot more. We definitely need what some of us have called digital leadership. Okay, just to capture it, just simply captures the kind of leadership that is required today. And for those who turn that curve quickly, that is, creating a curriculum. Some curriculum, a curriculum is a basket of different things. Okay, some curriculum will reorient their mindsets. Some curriculum will impact them with skills. So there is a curriculum that helps managers to better use collaboration tools, like whether it's the Google tools, whether it's Google Sheet, Google Forms, or even the Microsoft ones. That is a skill. But if I don't solve the man or the woman's mindset, and I go take him or her to a class to teach about Google Sheets or what any of those things, what is going to happen is that the next time the person is going to open the Excel that he or she has known and still attach, instead of sharing a Google Sheet for you to pick it up wherever you are and begin to use for both of you. So some curriculum will help us to reorient their mindset. Some curriculum will help us to develop their skills, even mindset and then skills relating to managing people remotely. You cannot just assume that, well, because they are managers, they've done this. No. Let's not forget that the work, there is a training that comes from just being involved with something. The workplace, as it has been designed in the last 20 or so years, is not in support of what we feel today and what we're involved in today and into the future. So you can't blame them if we have the uphill task. So it has to be deliberate. So the question is, that rethinking from the factory industrial age is so crucial, and you won't solve it by sending them to class for 2 days or 3 days. No, it has to be a curriculum that has different notes to it. Okay.
Thank you so much. What I also hear you say very clearly is the need for clear communication, especially with the supervisors and line managers, well, so that it doesn't just feel like HR has come again. HR wants to change the way we are working. HR wants to lay people off. So there has to be very clear communication that is targeted to the overall company's goal or strategy. That way, it helps you build trust and buy-in of the line managers as well, especially when they know that is geared towards they being better people managers, so that their team members can be more productive. So it's how we also sell the story when we communicate to the line manager as we reorientate them. Thank you. I have a question here from Oluwashe. It reads, how do we practically have a buy-in staff or team members, even after presenting the facts and figures of plans and projects, so there are little or no opposite direction actions at workplace, especially when you find yourself in a place that has had trust issues, I think. Did you get that question?
Yes, I did. How do we practically have a buy-in within staff, I think, or team members, even after presenting facts and figures or plans, so that there's little or no opposite direction, or what I guess it means opposition, especially when you find a place that trust you. You know, interesting, before I read that last sentence, I already had an answer in my mind. Then I saw the last thing and I said, yeah, that's it. So, Shea, you said presenting facts and figures. I've always been a huge student of the fact that people are emotional beings, even including your MD. We are emotional beings. So the facts and figures are good, but you must cater for their emotions. So when you now say that you find yourself in a place, trust issues, that's the point. Trust issues are emotional. They are not, you cannot change trust issue with a lot more facts or with focus on the facts, except if you are focusing on facts around the trust issues. So if you ask me, in your question lies your solution. We need to find a way to deal with the trust issues. We need to find a way. And interestingly, we are now in a world with a lot more transparency. It's amazing that there's almost nowhere anyone can hide. So it's important that if there are trust issues, those trust issues will percolate any data that you will say. We had a client the other day, and when we got into the work, we started realizing there were a lot of trust issues that were not presented. And so even when you are presenting facts, that when you share those facts with a third party, because the third party is not involved with the emotions, the person is able to see it clearly. Oh, this makes sense, this is lovely. But the person in the organization, when the person hears it, what the person hears, he hears the people that are sharing it. So we need to have emotional, in quote, packaging, experience type of things to packaging facts. Imagine that, and this is just a light example, and there are several if we add some more time. Imagine that you call people to a training where this training is part of something that could, initially hurt them. Maybe you are even going to lay them off, or you want to change the terms of their employment to on a need-by-need basis. Just deciding to do it in a very comfortable place is part of packaging the environment to be right. So you take them to a Sheraton or to an Eco Hotel, and first there is good quality food, there's nice music, so it's relaxed. Somebody will say, really? Is that what it takes? I'm just giving an example. What you're doing is that you are ensuring that the environment helps to create an emotional state that can be malleable, or else, and that's of several examples. Even getting a line manager that has that has less trust issues, or that is more respected, to be the conveyor is another way. So just looking at different ways to speak to the environment and the emotions, so that you're not just focused on the facts alone, but you're focused on even how the facts are passed, who passes one, and so forth. So I think that's what we need to do: solve the trust issues, attack the emotional environment as much as we can. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you for that feedback. We have a comment here from Tayo. It reads, to support Aruosa's position, especially on the good impact of COVID. In 2016, flexi time and remote working model was introduced for my then MD. and this was thrown down, believing that the impact will be negative on productivity and revenue. But COVID simply made this possible with attendant impact of improved revenue today and even beyond. I think it's clear that the greatest digital accelerator right now that we have is COVID-19. Thanks so much.
Unfortunately so. Unfortunately so, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Tayo, for that comment. I mean, you pretty much said a lot on the need for us to, as HR professionals, for us to sort of create more readiness and awareness, not just in how we manage people, but of course, how do we manage people to ensure that we have total whole well-being of our people, which speaks to their emotional wellness, which speaks to their mental wellness, and of course to their personal wellness. So I have just one last question for you, Aruosa. You know, you had mentioned earlier during your initial comments you had made around how COVID has impacted the way we manage work and productivity. Given the fact now that we have to manage people virtually, how can we as HR people ensure that we help people? I'm really very specific in terms of helping our organization to optimize productivity, given the high level of distraction, given the pressure that everyone is going through. I, as an individual, as a mother, the days I work from home, I'm also doing homeschooling. There's a whole lot of pressure on me. But as HR people, how do we ensure we help our workforce be their optimal best, given all of these realities that we are faced with? And I'd like that to just be like your parting word. And after we can call this a day. Thank you.
Okay. I think there's maybe this highest time where there's a call for candor from our employees. I know that years ago when I read the idea around candor in the workplace from Jack Welch's book, it left an indelible mark on me. We need to be people who are championing that employees bring their whole self to work. Their whole self means their ideas, their suggestions, because we now need ideas that will help our business directly. And some of those ideas might be way different from things that we have done before. But if we don't create an environment where those suggestions can come, suggestions around maybe areas where we can pivot as a business. I'm even talking about business idea, because we need employees to even be able to give us ideas that can use for sustainability and for growth. So, but if we don't create that environment where there's a lot of candor and people can bring the ideas of their whole self, not a diluted version of the idea where the person is saying, you know what, so we are into this business, but I think from what I've seen, we could also be into this business, okay? And yes, it might, at that time, seemingly be different from what we are doing, but maybe what we need to do, because again, we are in, I could say some kind of transition. Transition being one, we are understanding COVID. Two, we are hoping to get out of COVID in a certain form, even if it's just the getting out of the health challenges. So there's some kind of transition where we are understanding and we are mastering. So in that time, it's not impossible that we can get new business ideas that are diametrically different or that are just hybrids of what we've done before. So, but if we don't create an environment where employees can bring their total self so that we can get the ideas that we can use. The second one is also, by creating that environment, we will get them to be open with us about how they are feeling, where they are having challenges, where they're having struggles. One of the things that is evident, I see that we are doing that, but can we do more? Yes. For example, even in recruiters, I want to believe this that I'm saying applies to all of us. All of us recruiters. Recruiters are more understanding of people having challenges with network during interviews. or I want to believe so, because it's not exact. Yes, much as I would tell a job seeker definitely to do what all she or she can do to ensure that he or she has a reliable network, I will say that to that person. But I will say to the recruiter as well that you should have a lot more bandwidth for those kind of issues than before. I said that to say this. It means our workplaces must have a higher heightened sense of care for everybody. Because just like you said, the fact that we are now at home means that the things about home, which are legit, I mean, we are not all now going to bundle all our families into boxes and throw them in another, in another planet. So it is our reality. Yes, the MD has that reality. The executive director has reality. The gate man also has that reality. Can we therefore make our workplaces increase the bandwidth for understanding that? And then where we need policies, because some people, they will not move until you put policies in place. So just take note of that. You may need to hard code or mainstream some ideas from just principles, into policies, so that people know that, look, if someone says, for example, I'm not able to join a meeting now, I will need about 30 or 1 hour, we should be understanding. It's not like the person does so every other time. I'm just giving an example, okay? Or someone says, you know what, I'm going to send in my report via email, because where I am now, I've even moved around. I've used 3 internet data providers. It's not working. Or someone says, and I've seen this before, because guess what? We are now using our own power to support our workplaces, okay? But that our power, there's as much as we can do. I remember one day like that. I mean, and because of where I live, it can be a bit strange. But I suddenly found myself that I had challenge with the power providers, my 2 generators. Just see, everybody seemed to have their view at about that time, and my battery was running low. So, and I had to go get diesel and so on and so forth. So that just increasing the bandwidth is so crucial, and the call for leaders is highest. And then in some cases, we need to mainstream some things through policies and practices. I hope I helped.
Yes,
you're on mute, Lara.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Wow. It's been an insightful and enlightening time with you, Prof of the Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. On this note, we're bringing to an end our 6th series with our professor in the house, Aruosa. Thank you so much. I'd like to appreciate everyone that has taken our time from their Sunday to come and hear and learn and share and ask questions to also drive the conversation. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful. I'm delighted to have you join us and spend your time. So on that note, we want to say thank you once again to everyone, and for Aruosa for making our time to be part of this live series.
Thank you.
Yes, today. Thank you so much. So I would like people to also just, if you can go off mute and just express your appreciation to Aruosa. Please go off mute and let's just say thank you to him. It's been wonderful learning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bayo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Motola. Thank you, Tunde.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Chioma. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kufu.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivian. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aruosa. Thank you.
So, on that note,
Thank you, Ty. Yes.
On that note, we are bringing today's session to an end. Our next series, which is going to be our 7th series, comes up on the 29th of November. And we're going to have no other person but Bumi Akanlo, who will be here live to share her HR story. So
Thank you.
we're having Bumi next in the next 2 weeks, 9th of November. And I look forward to having every one of us join in once again. On that note, thank you and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you all.
Bye.
Grateful.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So just take time to look at, do you have any challenges?